Hello and good evening from England and welcome to the MMA Show, episode 5. In this show we'll review UFC 198 Verdum vs Miocic from Brazil, UFC Rotterdam Overeem vs Oloski, Bellator 154 Phil Mr. Wonderful Davis vs King Mo Lavor, and we'll have a short review on Bama 25 Tom Duquesne vs Shane Walsh. We will also have some news and gossip from the MMA world, and we have a new exciting addition to the show, I'm pleased to say, where we have emails from our listeners from around the world. We had emails from Indonesia, US, UK, and we'll pick a topic and discuss that on the show. And we'll look forward to next month's main UFC card, UFC 199, Rockhold versus Weidman 2. And Cruz versus Faber 3. So once again, welcome to the MMA Show, a show by the fans for the fans, and we're really pleased you could join us. Now, just before we get into the main meat of the show, the main body of the show, we'd just like to let you know how you can contact the show, and we really do appreciate you contacting the show and giving us suggestions and ideas and making it as interactive as possible, which is what the show is all about. To email the show, please email the MMA Show number 7. So that's all one word, the MMA Show, then the number 7 at the end, at gmail.com. We have a Twitter handle, the letter G at the front, the MMA Show 7. So G for golf, the MMA Show 7 gets you onto our Twitter handle. We have a Facebook page, I'm excited to say. We launched that this month. It's the MMA Show, as you would expect. And we have a Facebook account associated with that, which is G for Golf, S for Sierra, R for Romeo, GSR, Road, R for Romeo, O for Orange, D for Delta, H for Hotel, GSR Road. So hopefully you can get in contact with us, give us ideas, suggestions, just communicate with us, because after all, this is a show by the fans, for the fans. So thank you. Okay, moving into the show, as some of you listeners may know from listening to previous shows, I normally have Marcus the Beast Cottrell, who's my uke from way back doing Japanese jiu-jitsu. Unfortunately, he can't be with us on this show, and hopefully he'll get well soon, and we'll have him on the show next month. So I'm flying Han Solo today, and my wingman is not with me, but no worries. We'll crack on and crack on with the show and do the show. So going straight into, well, actually, before we go into UFC 198 Verdum versus Miocic, I've just got my Twitter feed open and some other pages. And earlier today, which is the 18th of May 2016, it's 7:40 p.m. in sunny old England. Well, it's been sunny, it's been raining, it's been cloudy. I think we've had the 4 seasons in one day, which is not untypical of an English summer's day. But the news broke this morning, our time, that Weidman is out of UFC 198. It's only come apparent in the last hour, I think, hour and a half, that from MMA Junkie, MMA Fighting, Luke Thomas, that Michael the Count Bisping has indeed stepped up and will be fighting Luke Rockhold. So that's just breaking news for us coming through now. So we'll preview that later in the show. So moving on to UFC 198 Brazil. It was like Brazil. It was like MMA was coming home to Brazil. The spiritual home of MMA. I likened it to when football World Cup came to England, and the Euros came to England as well. And there was quite a famous song, if you're from England, Britain, football's coming home, football's coming home, it's coming home, it's coming home, football's coming home. So that was the theme song for Euro 96. So MMA came home to spiritual home Brazil in a big way. Now, starting with the main event, Verdum versus Miocic. What was Verdum thinking? Why did he run after Miocic, one of the hardest hitting punchers in the division, in the heavyweight division, possibly the hardest after Kane? And he ran after him. Just does not make any rhyme or reason. Did Verdum get caught up in the event, in the emotion, in the occasion? Couldn't control himself and went hell for leather after Miocic. And while he was running after Miocic, he did have a bit of a warning, because Miocic did tag him, stopped him for a split second. But Verdum just carried on and then got hit by a beautiful sweet time punch while Miocic was running back, and that was the end of his night and the end of his reign as heavyweight champion of the world, which seems to be cursed. I don't think anyone's defended it more than twice, so no one's actually gone to number 3 and 4 and so on. But amazing credit to Miocic, strong guy, athletic, humble guy, amazing boxing, amazing power in his hands, heavy hands, and KO'd Verdum. So I think Verdum's got a lot of work to do on his stand-up, and he can't guarantee the fight's going to go to ground. The wrestlers, well, all fighters are much smarter about takedown defense. This is not UFC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where you can take a guy down, you know your jiu-jitsu, you submit it, game over, give me the check, thank you very much. You know, this has evolved 10, 15, 20 years on, so Verdum has to go back to the drawing board. I like Verdum, he's a funny guy, you know, he does a funny face, joker face, and but he shouldn't have run after Miocic, a big puncher. He was like a kid running after another kid in the playground who's teased him. That's what it reminded me of. I'm sure we've all done that at some point in our schooling, but Miocic schooled Verdum with the sweet timing of his footwork and his punches. Congratulations to Miocic. Moving on to the co-main event, poor Vitor Belfort looked out of his depth. Looked pretty inept, to be honest, from a fighting skills set, really. He was very apprehensive. He sort of knew what was going to come. He was going to get taken to ground and get submitted, but he got taken to ground and got beat up badly. So very good win for Jacare Ronaldo Souza. So congratulations to him. And you know, he would have been next in line if between Weidman and Rockhold, but things have changed. It's now Bisping v Rockhold, so I think he'll still be next in line. But a good win for Jacare. Looked like a powerful beast that he is, and just gave Belfort no room to breathe and just destroyed him. It was a seek and destroy mission. The third card I want to review is Chris Cyborg and Leslie Smith. I mean, Chris Cyborg, whatever you think about it, she brought a lot of interest to the card. Yeah, not only was it just because it was in Brazil, because she had built up a fearsome, rightly so, a fearsome reputation in the other promotions as a woman's fighter in that weight class. Unfortunately for her, there's no weight class above 135 at the moment, and that's where the stars are. Miesha Tate, Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey, of course. And it looks like she's going to struggle to make that weight, but she did look very impressive. She brings a lot of interest, a lot of fans. She's got character, so she's got some charisma as well. She's got a bit of a persona, which helps to sell and create interest from all different factions of the MMA hardcore sort of fans, the medium core, soft core, whatever you want to call them, across the spectrum. So well done to Chris Cyborg. I don't think it was stopped early. I think the referee got it right, and Leslie Smith was really not showing any signs of getting out of that or turning that defence into an attack, or that barrage of punches and escaping and hitting back. So I think the referee got it right. There was a lot of controversy, really, but I didn't see it as controversy. It seemed pretty good to me. So well done, Chris Cyborg. The other fight on the card that I want to briefly review is Matt Brown and Damian Maia. Matt Brown versus Damian Maia. Pretty predictable. We knew that if Damian Maia could get him to ground, which he has very good offensive wrestling, he's taken some top wrestlers down. John Fitch, Chael Sonnen, to name but two. And, he generally finishes people when he gets to ground. And he did that to Matt Brown. I think it was 2 rounds and 4 minutes and 30 seconds before he submitted him. But he did. And Matt Brown did well to defend. I think at one point he did have a bit of a flurry of an attack when he turned inside while Damian Maia had his back. He turned inside his guard and faced him and threw a few punches, but nothing really threatening. So well done to Damian Maia. Is he next in line? Possibly. I don't think so. I think the next in line after Tyrone Woodley and Robbie Lawler face off each other in UFC 201 will be from the fight in Montreal, is it? June 18th, UFC Fight Night. Rory McDonald versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I think the next contender is coming from that fight, so Damian Maia might have to wait or maybe have one more fight. But moving on to UFC Rotterdam, Overeem, the hometown boy, or I think he's from Rotterdam, might be from Amsterdam, but certainly hometown as in the country, home country boy, fought Oloski. And he done the job. He was convincing, his knees were good, his legs were good, he was kneeing him, and finished it with a beautiful, very agile and athletic drop kick, and a very nice finish, and in my eyes pretty much bang on to fight Miocic now, which brings up an intriguing stylistic matchup. Very good strikers. I think Overeem has a better overall ground game, but trying to get Miocic to ground will not be easy. So maybe New York in November for that heavyweight title at the MSG, Madison Square Garden, the most famous combat sports stadium venue arena in the world. So well done to Overeem, congratulations. Moving on to Bellator 154, Phil Mr. Wonderful Davis against King Mo Lawal. Pretty predictable in terms of two elite NCAA wrestlers. They're not really going to take each other down and do a lot of damage from there. There was some takedowns. I think Phil Davis had a couple of areas of where he threw some good punches and uppercut. King Mo retaliated, but it was a close decision, and I think it could have went either way, but Phil Davis got the decision and looks like he's going to be fighting for the Bellator light heavyweight title next. So congratulations to Phil. Moving on to BAMA 25, British MMA promotion. I have to admit I didn't watch this, I haven't had time to really review this, but reading the accounts that Tom Duquesnoy versus Shea Walsh, Tom became the first BAMA fighter to be a dual holder of two belts. He's now the featherweight champion and the bantamweight champion, and he finished Shane Walsh in just 1 hour and 15 minutes. With a stunning elbow, so he's made history by becoming the first ever weight two division champion in the promotion. So congratulations to him. We'll review BAMA cards in more detail in more future shows because it is a British promotion, so we are trying to push the British European angle because we are based in this wonderful country of ours, Great Britain. So we will review those cards in more detail and hopefully spot some up and coming talent that may move on to the bigger international promotions. Moving on to our next segment of the show, just to remind you, you can email the show, the MMA Show 7 at gmail.com. the MMA Show, then the number 7 at gmail.com. Very excited to add this new addition to the show where we've had a few emails from listeners around the world, from the US, UK, Indonesia, and I think Germany, where they want us to discuss a few topics. Now, these can be martial arts related, traditional martial arts. Is Japanese Jiu-Jitsu the ultimate MMA martial art? Which is the most important martial art? Rules, new rules that should be added, rules that should be taken away. So it really depends on what your burning issue is. The email that I've picked out for this month's show is from Tim in the US. Thank you for your email, Tim. Really appreciate it. And he was wondering if in the UFC and other promotions, if we could bring the rule where if you're in the guard position, so if you're at the bottom, you should be able to kick up from the guard position, even when the guy is on his knees and looking to ground and pound you or submit you. You can kick up if the guy on top is standing up. But as soon as he puts his knees on the ground, you can't kick him. You can't do any up kicks, so you can elbow and punch. Interesting. They have allowed this rule previously in many different promotions. I think in Pride, literally anything went. Football kicks, soccer kicks, stomping, blah blah blah. Anything really went. So I think there's two ways to look at it. If you're in the bottom position, then having the ability, having the option to up kick your opponent while he's on his knees, which means he's going to ground and pound you or try to submit you, gives you a massive uplift and sort of gives you a great chance to not get ground and pound and not get submitted, because you can start up, kicking up with your legs as soon as it hits the ground. So that nullifies, not all the time, obviously some guys will still be able to ground and pound, but to a large extent that nullifies the person on top displaying any real ground and pound for any length of time and possibly going for the submission, which generally takes a few seconds to get your position, to work on a submission and then actually execute the submission. So I think as it stands, there's no reason to introduce that, but it could be interesting. So thanks for that, Tim. But I think as it stands, I like it the way it is. It's fairly even. If you know what you're doing off your back, you can still cause some damage. Conor McGregor is quite good at that with elbows and punches. I think Anderson done it to Chael. I remember Nate Marquardt cutting Chael Sonnen across the top of the eyebrow with an elbow. So you can still do some damage. So I think it's fair. But keep your emails coming. Keep your subject matters coming as well. So the MMA Show 7 at gmail.com, and we'll discuss other topics as well. So now looking at news and gossip from around the MMA world, it looks like that Renan Barão has now moved down to the featherweight division. Moved up to the featherweight division from bantamweight. He famously struggled with the pulling out of one fight with I think it was TJ Dillashaw. On the second rematch he pulled out the night before because he had problems cutting weight to bantamweight 135. So it looks like he's finally accepted that, and he's going to fight Jeremy Stephens at featherweight. So good luck to him. Hopefully he can carry his weight good and come in powerful and show all the skills he did at most of his bantamweight fights. Reading the latest update on Chris Weidman, it looks like he had an injury on his neck which forced him out of the fight with with Luke Rockhold, so very unfortunate for him. So hopefully he can get well soon, and whether he'll go straight into the title fight, that remains to be seen. But interesting that Gray, talking about moving weights, Gray Maynard, remember him from the two epic fights with Frankie Edgar, especially the first fight where he absolutely battered Frankie Edgar from pillar to post. On any other day, a referee might have stopped that, but in that day, the referee gave Frankie Edgar, and all credit to Frankie Edgar, he hung in there. He took a hell of a beating, and managed to turn it. No, the first fight was a draw. Yeah, so he hung in there and did enough to get a draw. And in the second fight, I think in the fourth round, Gray Maynard actually got TKO'd up against the fence. So, but Gray Maynard is back on the featherweight division, in the featherweight division. So interesting, because I used to hear he used to walk around at 170 to make 155, 175, so lose 25 pounds. Now, if he's still walking around 175, he's going to have to lose 30 pounds. So hopefully he can cut that weight and come in still strong and active and energized, and not be susceptible to a bad weight cut and then gassing out after one or two rounds. So good luck to Gray Maynard. Jose Aldo's been saying that he's relit his fire for fighting since having that devastating knockout loss to Conor McGregor in 13 seconds. He's now got the old mindset of the WEC days. So he's got the motivation, he's got the hunger, he's got the outlook. So maybe these guys, they're champion for so long, like Anderson, they get bored and they need to lose in a bad way before they, like the old saying goes, realise what they lost and want it back. So good luck to Aldo. And he's saying if Frankie stands with him, he's going to get KO'd. So looking forward to that fight, and looking forward to the winner fighting Mr. Conor McGregor. So good luck with that. Talking about Conor McGregor, he's been sparring boxing with a world champion apparently, and there's videos online that show him having a good sparring session. So is he teasing? Is he getting ready for Mayweather by doing this, or is it just a case of him trying to improve his boxing skills after? Against Nate Diaz, he did have a good round with him, but Nate said he was slow because of the lack of training camp and timing and sparring. I don't think he did any sparring before the fight. But then in the second round, whatever reason, Conor got tired or overextended himself, or whatever the reason may be, Nate's footwork came in and his shots were clean and timed and hard and crisp and heavy to Conor's face, which caused Conor to go for a pretty desperate takedown. So Conor's been giving the rounds on putting a video out on him sparring with a genuine boxing world champion. Sticking to boxing, Floyd Mayweather has been teasing us and posting things out. There may be a way of fighting Conor, get out of the contract, etc., etc. I don't see it happening, but it's making good press. It's making good topic. It's making sort of conversation amongst the fans. So a lot of boxing fans don't give Conor a chance, from what I've had interaction on the Facebook page. But I think Conor's got a puncher's chance. He'll be the heavier man. He's taken a lot more punishment than Floyd, in terms of kicks to the head, elbows, pretty hard punches. So I'm not sure Mayweather will knock him out with 8-10 ounce gloves, but I think he'll do him on points if it ever does happen. So it could be an intriguing sort of not a freak show, in some ways a freak show, but an intriguing show. but we'll wait and see if that happens. So moving on to previewing the cards next month. There's a card later on this month, UFC Fight Night, and that's going to be Thomas Almeida and Garbrandt. So looking and talking about that card, Enan Barrow and Jeremy Stevens are on that card, as well as the co-main event, and I think Rick Story's on that card. So looking forward to Almeida. Is a very exciting prospect, very tough. He had that epic fight with Brad Pickett. He reminds me of Barrow a bit. He's got that sort of sharpness, that stringiness, but a great engine as well. And he's so quick, and he can take a beating. So that's a dangerous combination to have. So that's on May the 29th, on a Sunday. On June the 4th, still advertised as Rockhold versus Weidman 2 on UFC.com, but it's actually Rockhold versus Bisping 2. So it's still an intriguing fight. I don't give Bisping much chance. 2 reasons. One reason, 2-week training camp. That can't be good for anyone. Doesn't matter how much they say they're in shape. And the other reason, that Rockhold completely owned and destroyed Bisping when they had a full training camp. When Bisping had a full training camp in Australia, I think it was Brisbane, about a year ago, 14 months ago. So, and I remember watching that fight, and Rockhold seemed at least 2 divisions heavier than Bisping, at least light heavyweight. Yeah, he seemed a lot bigger than Bisping, and his power seemed a lot bigger. And the worst thing for a fighter is when the other fighter doesn't respect your power, and he just keeps coming forward, and pretty much in his mind he's formulating and dictating the plan to finish the other guy. The guy's coming forward, because he's not really taking a step back, and he's not in 2 minds. He's just got one mind forward, and I'm going to do A, B, C, punch, kick, and takedown, or whatever the combination is. Whereas if a guy's worried about the other guy, he's thinking about the other guy's punch, the other guy's kick, and then amongst all that sort of rummage in your head, you have to actually initiate your attack or execute your attack as well. So Bisping will be calm. Rockhold will be calm and comfortable, and I can't see this going more than 2 rounds. Probably round 1 to Rockhold via a KO, I would imagine. I think last time Rockhold submitted him with that front neck crank, I think he done it with one hand in the end, and I think Rockhold will maybe just want to KO him this time with a head kick, maybe a spinning head kick. So looking forward to that. The co-main event is extremely fascinating and entertaining as well. Just them talking to each other or cussing each other. Dominic Cruz versus Uriah Faber 3. First fight in the WEC, Faber won. Second fight in the UFC, Cruz won, and this is the third fight. I think Faber's best chance is to get into Dominic Cruz's head, talk about his running away, he never engages, he hasn't knocked anyone out, blah blah blah, and hopefully get in under his skin, get into his head, get his back up, and then Cruz may engage in a stand-up war for maybe a round or 2. And if Faber gets close enough, gets him to ground, great chance of submitting him, or maybe even overhand right to knock him out. If Cruz plays his game, then it's going to be probably a points decision win for Cruz. But Faber should really ranch up the smack talk, trash talk, and get under his skin. It reminds me of when Amir Khan fought Danny Garcia for the world, was it welterweight possibly, championship, and it was actually Danny Garcia's dad that got under Amir Khan's skin, making fun of how he runs away and he's prancing about like a pony, blah blah blah. It was quite funny and entertaining, and then Amir Khan sort of did that, used his footwork for four rounds. And then he got into a brawl with Danny Garcia in, I think, 5th and 6th round and got KO'd. Got knocked down a few times and then KO'd. So, Faber, maybe get Danny Garcia's dad in your corner and have him trash talk Cruz for a bit and get him all riled up. And I think so I'm going to go for Rockhold and Cruz on a points decision. On the card is we also have Holloway, Lamas. That's a very interesting fight, and Dan Henderson is fighting Hector Lombard, because Dan Henderson should have been fighting on UFC 197, but unfortunately Machida pulled out due to some drug testing issues. So that should be an interesting fight. So that wraps up the show for this month. Just to remind you, please email the show on the MMA Show 7. So it's all one word, the MMA Show, then just the number 7 at the end, at gmail.com. Our Twitter handle is just the letter G, the MMA Show 7. So all one word. Join us on Twitter, the MMA Show Facebook page, and GSR Road Golf Sierra Romeo Orange Delta Hotel is our Facebook account. So remember, this is a show by the fans, for the fans. We love MMA like you guys. It's the best 3-letter acronym in the world. It's the world's most exciting sport, so unpredictable, and this is why we watch it and we engage in various formats and mediums. And thanks to the internet, we have listeners and we can interact with people all around the world. We truly are one community. Thanks to Tim Brenners, the inventor of the internet, and some boxes, some routers and switches and DNS servers, that we can communicate with so much ease and have so much accessibility around the world. But anyway, I won't turn this into a techie session. That really will be boring. But thank you for listening. Please get in contact with the show. Any suggestions, any ideas would be fantastic. We will keep adding to the show new segments like emails. Hopefully have guests in future shows as well. And reviewing shows, previewing shows, and having some interesting topics about wider martial arts and what it means to MMA, and peripheral subjects like rules, other areas as well, that all make up to sort of all make up this wonderful sport of MMA. And have a fantastic week, have a fantastic evening, whether it's good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it may be, whichever parts of the world you're in. We'll bid you good evening from England, and look forward to being with you next month. Thank you. Bye.